Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. It's great to be back. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined as always, my dear friend, Bo Brock, live from PHNX downtown Phoenix. Bo, holding down the fort a few days while old Kyler Murray's back on the practice field. Well. How sweet it is.
Johnny Venerable goes away. News breaks around this organization. Did you go full nature boy on us while you were muted? Were you just giving us big long woo that nobody got to hear? We got to see it on YouTube, but we didn't get to hear it.
Yeah, it's it's a byproduct of K1 coming back, and that's what we're going to talk about today because it's a celebratory week, right? Like I'm very jealous. I missed out on the celebration that was Wednesday and subsequently Tuesday when the news was announced. But we've done our best to tease what we've been able to over the course of the past week. And by all accounts, we felt like this was a pretty good opportunity for Kyler Murray to come back this week, and it's come to fruition. Now, what I did not expect, Bo Brock, I thought he'd look good to some degree. You've got some great clips out there, PHNX Cardinals at Bo Brock on Twitter. I did not think he would look this good. And I think there is real temptation by this team to just rip that Band-Aid off, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a Josh Dobbs guy. I think he's done an admirable job. You can't tell me right now there's not a stark difference between old Joshua Dobbs and certain number K1, number 1 out there on the practice field.
Yeah, I mean, why delay any longer, producer Damon? Why don't we get some footage of Kyler Murray from Friday's practice? Because this is stuff you seek out.
Rip it.
Yeah, you just turn this on. If you got a big screen, put it on the biggest screen you have in your house, because you got to watch Kyler Murray. Just get back there. And yeah, that's the verb I would use there, Johnny, is rip it. He's just letting it go before this. And you'll see the last clip that we have in this, he kind of aired it out as well. He was on the north side of the football field, just really warming up. Here he is. He just fumbles around kind of the handoff, and then on the run, drops an absolute dime into the hands of number 2, Hollywood Brown. That was our first glimpse of that reconnection. Oh, and then there's this little one to Damian Williams, catches him in stride. I mean, we can just keep that on a loop right there, and I think we'll captivate an audience for about an hour and a half if we want, 60 seconds of Kyler Murray just throwing the football. But the arm talent, there's such a difference between the arm talent that's been in this building since he's been away and Kyler Murray's ability to make all the throws. I mean, it is, you talk about like the difference in the sound of the ball off the bat on some hitters in Major League Baseball. Like, you can definitely see a difference between Kyler Murray just slinging it out there and, some pedestrian to some, entry-level type quarterback play. There's a distinct difference. Love it.
Well, it's interesting. Like you say, arm talent. I think a lot of people go to like arm strength. Joshua Dobbs has a big arm. Like we saw it. He's just not very accurate right now. Like Kyler Murray was one of the most accurate deep ball throwers in the NFL when he was humming 2 years ago. He's got a completion percentage that outside of an anomaly 2021 season has gotten better every year since Oklahoma. Like, his arm talent is elite. Like, that's cannot be questioned. Like, where he struggled is staying healthy, his size, right? But elite mobility, elite arm talent. And that's been on display these first couple days of practice. And, it's interesting. We dropped in the audio only podcast last night. I encourage everybody to go check it out. You made a good point, Bo. Like, Kyler Murray is not hurt in the sense that he's back from injury and they're, cranking it up and he's limited in practice and he's icing his knee. No. Kyler Murray is 100% healthy to practice, right? There are no limitations right now. We know for him practicing with the Arizona Cardinals right now. It is all about mental reps, physical reps, getting comfortable with Drew Petzing's offense. But I think a lot of people, maybe myself included, thought Kyler's going to go out there and they're going to slow play this because of his knee, right? When in reality, all the stuff he's been doing over the course of the 9 to 10 month recovery timeline has been about being 100% physically. And now that he's there, it's like, well, should we even be surprised by this kind of result?
Well, I mean, this isn't 2009 ACL reconstruction, right? This isn't, you're going to come out there and the first signs of you on the practice field, you've got a big bulky knee brace. Like, we actually don't see a knee brace for Kyler Murray. He's wearing the black tights. So he's not even wearing one of those big squeaky knee braces. And he's not, like you said, going in and immediately like icing his knee. Otherwise, if a monsoon hits, he's going to feel it in his bones. It's not like it's not an old squeaky knee. I mean, things have changed. This has become almost a near exact science as far as, these procedures go on these ligaments in your knee, your throwing arm, whatever it may be. And then the rehab has even become even more so. I mean, as far as what they've been able to dial in and the program that Buddy Morris has put these guys on, it got Kyler Murray to a position in how they were cautious and patient with this, to where when he was able to get back to practice, it was going to be primarily about football and getting back into football shape. Because before he was designated return on Wednesday, what Jonathan Gannon described it as a health bucket. He was trying to fill up his health bucket. He was trying to check off everything he possibly could to get himself as healthy as possible, to be pretty much on par with everybody else in that locker room, with everybody else across the league. Now, obviously, it's something you're monitoring, right? And there's still a part of the rehab, but most of it goes into him rehabbing himself into football shape.
So it came out this week. Multiple people, Bo Brock reported this as well, being at practice. Kyler Murray's taking reps with the first team. And we've got a question in the chat. Dylan Richards, friend of the program, basically saying, like, what's happening now with Joshua Dobbs? And this was always one of the most interesting dynamics and facets of Kyler Murray. When and how does he return? And how do they prepare him for this game whenever he does come back? In the sense that, like, Dobbs needs a bunch of reps too. Like, he needs first team reps ahead of Seattle. He's starting this weekend at Seattle. But, like, I see Kyler Murray announced on Wednesday off of PUP, and then I hear, oh, he's got first team reps. Like, that tells me they're trying to expedite this to see if it's viable for him to play against Baltimore. It feels like, and again, could very well be an Atlanta return. We're going to talk about the impact of him potentially not playing in Cleveland. But I do think that first team reps is not nothing. That's substantial. Do you agree with that?
Let's listen to quarterback coach Israel Wolfork. We got to catch up with him post-practice, and he gave us some pretty in-depth insight into how Kyler Murray is working right now in his first week back on the practice field.
It's right now we're just worried about him just getting back in the flow of things, and that's just a process of it. And I think we got to take it day by day. I don't know when that's going to happen, but the job he has right now, he's running with our twos right now against our starting defense, which is an awesome opportunity for him to feel speed and have guys rushing at you. Our pass rush is pretty good. He's getting out there. He's coaching up some of the younger practice squad players, so that's helping out with leadership and other things like that. But like I said, just day by day, rep after rep, throwing the guys in RVA, all that's big, and he's super excited just to be out there doing it.
That was going to
be yeah. I mean, our ones are our ones, and he's getting reps with the ones also. But a lot of majority of his reps is going against our starting defense, which I think is going to be an awesome like tool for him to get back in the swing of things, like I keep saying. But it's different when you're going against the ones. So the speed of it, and I think he's going to get our team ready to play.
We had Israel Wolfork, Izzy as they call him, backed up against the wall there, and he didn't flinch at all. I mean, they're confident as far as what they have, the process in place for Kyler Murray, but you heard him there, right? Primarily, he's working with the twos. He's working with the second team offense, which goes against the first team defense, getting him up to speed, seeing that game speed in real action and in real time. And like, then they'll dabble, as my co-host likes, they'll just dabble in a couple first team reps here and there. And that's not like taking away, like, I'm sure they did the same thing with Clayton Tune all throughout Joshua Dobbs' starting tenure here with the Arizona Cardinals. It's like Joshua Dobbs goes in there and gets the important reps, especially the reps that are designed for that week's game plan and install. And then I'm sure that they get Kyler Murray just worked in there, just like they would a backup type quarterback. But, I mean, he's not going to be activated this weekend. So, I mean, it takes reps away from somebody. Probably, Clayton Tune is the casualty there. But, you're getting him those looks and probably an easier look than going up against the first team defense.
So I think for everybody on, pins and needles waiting for him to return, I think this is exciting, but at the same time, like, I don't want to be a wet blanket on this podcast. We've been told for a while, 2 weeks minimum prep. Well, that would put him in line to potentially play next weekend against the Baltimore Ravens, like 2 full weeks of practice, team meetings as quarterback one. I think that's asking a lot, frankly, and I'm going to tell you why. So we're going to talk about the injury report later in the show. Garrett Williams is limited, and with the potential for him not to play again. That would be after 2.5 weeks of practice. They are going to slow play these ACL guys. They already have, right? Especially with guys like Williams and Kyler Murray that are part of their future. I know definitively they want to have him start at home. I don't think there is any interest. I know.
But what about the playing surface, Johnny? Remember how people were up in arms about the State Farm Stadium playing surface?
The good news is he's been working with the Sod Father. The Sod Father and Kyler and the training staff, they've all been out there together inspecting every blade of grass. No, Sod Father, I told you, he's down here working at Basha High School. Good for him. They have no desire to play him at Cleveland. Let me repeat that. They have no desire for Kyler Murray to expose him to Myles Garrett, his first game back, with DJ Humphries being a turnstile right now. The Cleveland Browns have the best defense in the NFL. Hang on. The Cleveland Browns have the best defense in the NFL. Yeah. They're playing surface, super sketch, right? They want to debut Kyler Murray at home at State Farm Stadium. So it's either going to be Baltimore next week, 2 weeks later, Atlanta. If you had to ask me right now, I know a lot of people are asking in the chat, I believe it will be Atlanta. I think that it's going to be tempting because he looks fucking awesome, and he's going to look even better next week. But I think that in the grand scheme of things, I mean, we could be looking at a team that's 1-6 next week, and they're going to be like, yeah, well, Baltimore's a tough team. The Browns are a tough team. Like, Kyler Murray could absolutely shred the Atlanta Falcons in week 10. And what that would do for his confidence, the team's confidence, it's going to be, I would say it's about 50-50 plays against Baltimore. I would side with the side of him playing in Atlanta, or against Atlanta in 3 weeks. And again, week 10, you're going to get 9 games then. 8 games. So that's kind of where things stand as of right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Jonathan Gannon, if you're Drew Petzing, if you're anybody involved in the decision making for this organization, you better make your decision right now. Like, and here's why. Because there is going to be an overwhelming sense of temptation if this offense struggles again this weekend to just deploy Kyler Murray against the Baltimore Ravens next. Like, there's going to be an unreal amount of temptation to just say, fuck it, let's go. Let's just put him back there. Let's just start this process right now. Let's rip this Band-Aid off. So, like, I think if they want to be this cautious organization that follows the process that they've done, and a ton of credit. And this isn't like an indictment on the organization. I'm just saying, like, Kyler Murray's going to push him to play him. And like the idea of Kyler Murray getting back on the playing field, what he brings to a team, and his abilities, like his playmaking, the arm talent we talked about, like, that's going to be so tempting. Like, I mean, we are talking just overwhelming amount of temptation to just throw him in there. Yeah.
And again, like, everybody in the chat, I love the energy. Like, just throw them out there. Let's do it. Let's go. This season, they're struggling right now. But then you have comments like this, and I think Donnie brings up a very viable point for a lot of Cardinal fans and then people outside this organization.
Okay,
just don't see the point of bringing him back. 2-7, 1-8 seems like a ticket sales move. I think, Donnie, it's a move to set them up for 2024, and they have to have certainty at the quarterback position, whether it's Kyler Murray or Drake May or Caleb Williams. Now, you might say to yourself, well, if we play Kyler and he wins a couple of games, we'll get knocked out of the quarterback derby. That's a risk, and you guys can call this naive. I have this source, like, they're willing to take that risk. They feel like if Kyler Murray comes back and wins games for them at the end of the season with this roster, off a torn ACL with no offseason, they feel pretty confident he's going to be able to go through 2024 and be an impact player next fall. But if he plays poorly and they lose and they continue to lose, well, then that decision just kind of takes care of itself. They will draft Caleb Williams or Drake May if they have one of the first 2 picks. I feel confident in that. Kyler Murray can come and force the issue and says, not so fast. You got 1 win. I'm coming back week 10. You're going to have 5 wins by the end of the season. And we're going to go get Joe Alt or somebody else. So I I totally understand where Donnie's coming from, because it's a question I asked in the preseason, in the
Mm-hmm.
offseason. Like, what are they going to do? How are they going to be able to navigate this? They are, as this podcast has been telling you since before the start of the season, staunchly committed to playing Kyler Murray this year and giving him every opportunity to reemerge as the franchise quarterback we all saw 18 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of things that are true, and they don't exactly mesh at down the line with the Arizona Cardinals organization, right? One, that the relationship between Jonathan Gannon and Kyler Murray, it is a budding bromance, if not just a full-blown
100%.
bromance. Like they love how each other operate and prepare, and how they are in the competitiveness. Like they are in lockstep with each other. But then the other side of this is Jonathan Gannon, like he will be with you all the way, but you have to show it on the grass, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said that about several players to this point. Ever since he took this job, he's like, hey, we hear these different things about Kyler Murray, Hollywood Brown, Zaven Collins, Isaiah Simmons, like all these guys that have been, dubbed talented, right? And how are you going to deploy them? And it's like, we have this idea, right? And we talk about it, and we talk strategy and how, we can really kind of take advantage of their skill sets, right? But it doesn't matter shit unless they hit the grass and we see how that works out. And I think the same can be said about Kyler Murray. And so far, he's showing it in practice, and then he's going to have to show it in the games. And that's going to be another checkpoint for this organization. But, as I mentioned on the audio only, like this organization hit the reset button back in January, and they brought in new leadership in the front office, and Monty Ossenfort and the coaching staff, Jonathan Gannon and crew, and it's all going in the right direction. And now they're making these decisions as far as roster-wise, and they've cleaned house, and they've gotten rid of some former big picks and big money trades and big money free agents, and they're pretty much down to the studs. Now they have one huge looming decision to make. If the Arizona Cardinals decide to pivot off of Kyler Murray, then you're looking at, okay, are we going to be able to sell a fan base on Joshua Dobbs potentially as a bridge to a rookie quarterback, or are you going to just start a rookie quarterback right away? Like, just to kind of have to restart at the quarterback position, as early as, next March. I think that's asking this fan base for even more patience than before.
Well, but again, that issue or that potential dilemma takes care of itself. Like I'm not going to sit here and say I know 100% certainty. Like, if they're picking second overall, like they could conceivably trade that pick. But are you playing, like, how does Kyler Murray look en route to getting to the second overall pick? Does he struggle? Does he, God forbid, get hurt again? Or does he play really well, but he just can't overcome the defense? Like, there are layers to this, right? Could you trade the rights to the second overall pick for 3 additional first rounders and take all that draft capital and say, we're going to have 2 first rounders in the first round for the next 3 years? All that's going to go into making Kyler Murray a Super Bowl contender with the Arizona Cardinals. Like, that's conceivable. Yeah. But I mean, like, there are a lot of really good coaches around this league that are stuck in quarterback purgatory. You have to be definitive in your decision, whether it's K1 or somebody else. But to your point, Bo, like, it will test the patience of this fan base. If Kyler Murray comes back, they lose, they trade away Kyler Murray, and then they hit the reset button yet again. Because if you're starting a rookie, like, that's your expectations are, hey, everybody play it cool for another year while we get Drake May or Caleb Williams acclimated to the NFL. Like, what's happening with CJ Stroud, that's an anomaly. If you return Kyler Murray, and I've said this many times, as a part of this group in 2024, like, you need to be in the playoff discussion. You need to be in the mix in the dismal quarterback hellscape of the NFC to make the playoffs as a 7 seed, a 6 seed, or an ascending team. You've got, I checked it this morning. They have not, we always talk about like the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. They've got 2 4s and 3 5s right now. On top of, they have 6 picks in the top 85. They've got $80 million in cap space, a ton of dead weight they can shed. Ossenfort is going to be able to make this roster unrecognizable in the best possible way en route to 2024. And if Kyler Murray is the person to steer this ship toward the postseason, then hell yeah, let's go. But it's the money. It's always been about the money. It's never been about, in my opinion, Kyler Murray, the person or the player, with Ossenfort and Gannon. Yeah. And we build a Super Bowl team, and that's what the goal is, around Kyler Murray while he's making $50 million. And I think they can. Yeah. No, I mean, it's easier said than done. I mean, I think that Kyler Murray there
far less questions than there were in Chicago about Justin Fields.
Not even close.
There was the Bears, they pulled off one of those deals, right? Where they were in the top spot and they're like, oh, look at all this draft capital we got. We're going to build around Justin Fields. And if you get the quarterback wrong, it doesn't fucking matter, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter. But also you've got to be able to hit on some of those picks. And I'm looking at this Bears draft class and I'm not really seeing anybody that like has stood out in year one and is like trending towards being a developing, impact maker down the line. Like the extra picks they got, they use it on a corner out of Florida. And they've got another pick that could be a high one this year, but they're right there picking with that same selection. So
they're going to take a quarterback. Like Justin Fields is done with that franchise.
Right. So
they're going to have to burn one on a QB.
I think, with the far less questions to have answered with Kyler Murray, and if he just answers a few of them, that this organization would feel more than comfortable moving forward with him. And then having, I think, the infrastructure in place from the front office position, the scouting department, to really capitalize on the draft capital that they acquired this past offseason. Like they're in a way better spot than Chicago, that kind of was the talk of the football world for this entire offseason for what they have done.
The Bears are going to have a new head coach. They could have a new GM and they could have a new quarterback. Like they're going to start over this offseason. The Cardinals conceivably could run it back with all three of those individuals. Arizona Heat 85. Love this comment. There's zero chance they move on from Murray so long as he looks good. I agree with that. If Kyler Murray's out there carving up defenses in the second half of the season, takes care of everything. And, you would say like the wins are important. Like, let's use the optics. Like everybody saw as a rookie, Kyler Murray was really effing good. And that team just couldn't contend because of the roster. If Kyler Murray is losing to Pittsburgh and Seattle and the LA Rams in the second half of this year, and he's got a 2-1, dare I say a 3-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and this defense continues to blow, then like we're not going to put that on Kyler Murray. Everybody's going to be saying, fix the defense, fix the left side of the offensive line. So I think Arizona Heat spot on. Like fans don't, to your point, Bo, they will not want to pivot off Kyler Murray for good reason if he looks good. And this team needs everything else. Like I keep hearing from people like, why are we talking about Drake May and Caleb Williams when they need defensive linemen, offensive linemen, cornerback help? They could take a generational wide receiver. Kyler Murray, when he's healthy, is something they don't have enough of on this roster. A known commodity, an elite commodity. They've got about 2 or 3 of those guys max that fit that description. Then go find more with all your assets this offseason.
There's nobody that's kind of down on Kyler Murray that's inside that organization. Like they are very convicted on his ability to be a franchise quarterback. And we've talked to so many people like from our time on Radio Row, where you and I were talking to James Conner and Rondell Moore and a bunch of his teammates. Now hearing from his head coach and Jonathan Gannon that he's a franchise quarterback, and Monty Ossenfort. I talked to Greg Dortch like on Tuesday, the day before he was designated to return. I said, what potentially does Kyler Murray bring to practice immediately? And he said, he just oozes confidence that trickles down to the rest of the roster and elevates everybody's play. And it's interesting because then I asked Jonathan Gannon today, like, what is Kyler Murray? What does Budda Baker do for the preparation process? How does he help? How do they help you there? And he says they basically, and I'm paraphrasing, but he used the word juice. Like they bring juice to the practice. Like it ratcheted up a notch just by the way that they prepare, the way that they carry themselves out there, and the way that you better be on your game, or they're going to either beat you if you're a defender from Kyler Murray, or if you're an offensive player, Budda Baker is going to bust your ass.
I also think, like, again, it's going to sound cliche to say, but we ought to be able to talk about this in a safe space here. Like Kyler Murray has probably done a lot of growing up over these past 18 months. Like that's okay. As an early 20-year-old now in his mid-20s, he's evolved into a different person. The expectations have changed. His mindset has likely changed. He's around high-level people. Like everybody here has a ceiling when you surround yourselves, frankly, with low-level people. Like Steve Keim was a low-level general manager. Cliff Kingsbury, like the guy personally, over his head as an NFL head coach. They enabled probably some bad habits on and off the field for Kyler Murray. Now he's around high-level people, respected people, Jonathan Gannon, Super Bowl defensive coordinator, Monty Ossenfort, the New England Belichick tree of executives, and the people in Tennessee couldn't speak more highly of him. Like, if he gets the buy-in from those people, like, who are we to scoff and say, well, it's the Kyler Murray of old, right? We should allow these young players to acclimate themselves and to be able to evolve and grow up. Like I wouldn't have been ready to take over an NFL franchise as the best player in my early 20s. Good hell, it would have been a disaster, right?
Well,
And so I think this goes to kind of what Yower's in there. You were saying with the super chat,
right.
$2. Thank you so much. Caleb Williams wants partial ownership. Laugh out loud. No need, sir. Like Caleb Williams, elite college prospect, is showing a lot of the, let's just call it the emotional development that needs to be done that people were saying like Kyler Murray needs to work on.
Yeah.
I think if you watch Caleb Williams right now, it's speaking to a lot of the criticism unfairly that Kyler Murray received. And so I don't think there's anybody in this fan base that wants to go through that. And so you've got a young man now in Kyler Murray that's evolved presumably, and that's the best version of Kyler Murray. We want to reap the benefits of that selfishly.
People who I think crush Kyler Murray for his kind of posture or the way he holds himself, conducts himself on the sidelines, his body language, all the stuff that people like to nitpick about Kyler Murray. Like, and then you see just how Caleb Williams has been in the face of adversity, or not even in the face of adversity. Before the loss to Notre Dame, where he threw 3 interceptions, there were articles coming out, big publications, GQ, where his dad, Carl Williams, was talking about how he wouldn't go to some of the bottom feeder franchise in the NFL. And now there's the repurposed story from July from Pro Football Talk that was picked up by a couple of the trendy NFL accounts out there that like to just kind of take different quotes and cherry pick quotes here and there. Saying that he would want, ownership, pieces of ownership and stuff. Is like, okay, bro, that's all fine and good. Like Kyler Murray's never been guilty of any of that. Like all Kyler Murray wanted to be was paid market value for what a franchise quarterback wants and usually gets in their 4th year. They signed that big money extension, and he just wants to play ball. And, part of this organization, the previous regime, they for whatever reason took exception to that. And they mudslung in the public arena through different sources and leaks and all that. And those days are done. And now you're seeing that Kyler Murray just wants to show up and compete. And there's no baggage. There's no drama as far as I want a piece of ownership, or I want this. If we don't win, I want out, or everything has to be perfect, or I'm going to go elsewhere. It's like, no, this is a guy who's as competitive as they come, that came to an organization back in 2019, didn't in a single way balk at that, and said, I want to come here and help this organization that hasn't been a winner become a winner. And you have to really appreciate that.
The Cardinals had a general manager who had an extreme DUI that had to spend multiple nights in a jail cell. And they had a coach that was one and done, an African-American coach that did not look good, firing him after a one and done season and enabling your general manager. And then you had a top 10 bust. That's how that GM used that draft pick on taking Josh Rosen. Kyler Murray walked into all of that and never scoffed at any point. Won Offensive Rookie of the Year with a fired college head coach. Like Kyler Murray has his faults. He's made mistakes in the past. That's what Kyler Murray walked into. And we all have just short memories, I guess, as it relates to like everybody has different circumstances, and people are saying, oh, Bryce Young's got the hardest, road to being an NFL quarterback. Look at his circumstances. I don't know. Frank Wright took a team in Indianapolis to the playoffs, and the NFC South is dog shit. Kyler Murray walked into the NFC West with teams going to back-to-back Super Bowls in the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. It's just, again, I don't like to play the victim card here, but you can name very few players have had more against them publicly than Kyler Murray. I want to get to some of these super chats. This is from Joel, $4.99. I wish somebody would ask Michael Bidwell how he feels about K1 now with a new coaching staff. I think Michael Bidwell, for the first time in a long time, is listening to his football people. And Bo, if his football people are saying, hot damn, Kyler Murray looks awesome, he's going to be our guy, Michael Bidwell is going to continue to cut those checks.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't think there's any, he hasn't been in front of a microphone, and I think he's probably staying in the shadows, and that's fine, and letting the new regime really establish itself. And so far so good. I mean, you'll see a couple reports come out about, the last 2 decades of this organization, which are rough, right? Like the most recent one from The Athletic. And those are going to probably continue to leak out as they kind of try to battle these things with Terry McDonough and all the arbitration and all that was levied against them. But look, I mean, I think he's getting a little hands off, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that he means any less business. I think this approach, it's different, right? Less hands-on approach, which is working out because Monty Austinfort and Jonathan Gannon, they're doing it primarily their way, and it's a different ball game. It feels like in the last 8 months.
Alex, $4.99. The study clause is what changed the narrative surrounding Kyler Murray. I think, yeah, to some degree, the playoff loss against the LA Rams. But again, who put that study clause in there? Michael Bidwell, who is under fire, and Steve Keim, who has subsequently been let go. So again, like that study clause didn't come from Andy Reid. It didn't come from Bill Belichick. Esteemed people in the NFL. Like that came from Steve Keim, and I'm sure as hell sure that Michael Bidwell regrets allowing that to happen. Because they subsequently removed it 24 hours later from the public backlash. So Milwaukee Braves, $1.99. Any updates on Garrett Williams? Going to go Sunday. Let's put a pin on that, Milwaukee Braves. We're going to talk about the injury report here in a second. But first, major announcement on this podcast. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. How about this, guys? New partner alert. We are super excited. So excited to partner with our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Arizona's biggest and best resorts and casinos. Again, fantastic. Sign up, Gila River Resorts and Casinos, $1 million Big Red Showdown. Stay in the game and get resorts. It is that easy. Play fun, free online for a chance to win. Get this, $1 million in cash. We love Gila River Resorts and Casinos because of, in part, how about their weekly pick'em? Went up to $1,000 in a bonus play every single week. They've got monthly drawings, November 5th, December 3rd, Cardinal games, tickets, memorial play, bonus play, prop cards for select football games. And again, how about went up to $100,000 in cash for those 21 and over? Visit GilaMillionDollarShowdown.com to get in on the action. For more information, check them out, Gila River Resorts and Casinos. I was at their sports book earlier today down at Wild Pass. It was fan-flippin-tastic. Love our friends at Gila River. So excited that they're in the fold, Bo Brock.
Yeah, we're always excited that our friends over at Four Peaks is in the fold as well. We love it. They just had they've got their pumpkin carving going down on Wednesday. You don't want to miss out on that. You can find out more about Four Peaks and all their different events going on. Go to fourpeaks.com/events. But you know what? They can have fun as far as pumpkin carving. And of course, it's synonymous with going and watching a game, but also what they're synonymous with, including the Valley of the Sun here in Phoenix and the surrounding area, is their beer. Unbelievable what they're doing. Of course, we got the Redbird Lager, you got the Kilt Lifter, the flagship there, and of course, the #1 wheat beer in all the state of Arizona, the Joy Bus Wow Wheat. You can get it to Joy Bus Wow Wheat Light as well. And all those IPAs. If you're an IPA guy or gal, you can find perfect one over at Four Peaks. They've got the Raj. I like the bourbon aged Raj, which is unbelievable. They've got a whole assortment of bourbon barrels in their back, and they just age their delicious beer, and it comes out so smooth. Perfect pairing with one of their many desserts or appetizers, and of course their full menu of food that has great entrees. Don't miss out on Four Peaks right now. 8th Street in Tempe. Follow them online on socials at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub to get the latest on Arizona's premier craft brewery. Four Peaks, got to be 21 years or older to enjoy the beer, but we love our Four Peaks. It's our proud beer sponsor here at PHNX.
It's funny, this week's been about Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray's not going to play this weekend, Bo Brock, against the Seattle Seahawks. We've known that for a hot minute, that the clock officially starts on K1 next week ahead of Baltimore. So there is a game to be played this Sunday in Seattle, and I think a very winnable game for the Arizona Cardinals as Joshua Dobbs attempts to bounce back. Bo, the practice report this week has been a little bit hit or miss, right? Trying to determine what's going on with a couple guys. Let's start first with Budda Baker. Budda Baker, he's been out there. Do you believe he's poised to return this Sunday at Seattle?
I do. I think that this week was basically Budda gets back on the practice field, see how his hamstring holds up, and everything we've seen, it's held up. He's 1 week ahead of schedule. He said it was a 6-week injury. He's in week 5 as of today. He looked every bit as Budda Baker does on the practice field during the open portion. Now, if we take a look at this injury report, producer Damon, if we could take it into account here, Budda was limited all week and officially questionable, but I really do believe that they'll activate him in time for the game on Sunday, and he'll be right back there on the back end of this defense where we're used to seeing number 3 here. Now you see at the top of this is where it gets a little dicey. Again, Antonio Hamilton didn't practice all week. Neither did Jalen Thompson for a second straight week, dealing with a hamstring. He's out. Kyler Murray, of course, ruled out. And then Elijah Wilkinson, your starting guard. I know some of you probably golf clapped that. He's officially out. So you have to have a brand new starting. This is the first injury to the offensive line all season. So Elijah Wilkinson will not be at his normal left guard spot. But you're saying, okay, Hamilton's out, Jalen Thompson's out. Those were your 2 options in the slot. So who's going to play the slot? So that's why I'm even more confident that Budda Baker is going to come back. And then you'll probably have like an Andre Sachare who's been filling in for Budda Baker at the safety spot, maybe play the slot, or a Kayvon Wallace play the slot. And you'll have another 3 safety look with one of them handling the nickel or the slot duties.
Yeah, I mean, Budda Baker gives an immense increase of production for the secondary.
He just boosts. Yeah, that type of player, that type of motor. I mean, I think that brings juice to any lineup.
And then, like, respectfully, like, I like Antonio Hamilton. Jalen Thompson's a really good player. That's a loss, but we've known he's going to be out for a little bit. Like, Antonio Hamilton's just kind of been okay. Like, we're getting to the point with some of these players on the Cardinal defense. It's like, oh no, we lost X or we lost Y. I think a lot of these guys, frankly, are replacement level players. Budda Baker is not. So Budda Baker, even if they don't have a traditional slot receiver or slot cornerback, can make up a lot on this defense. Like, Budda's out, that's a problem. Kazir White's out, that's a fucking problem, right? Jalen Thompson. But then, like, everybody else, I don't want to say is expendable, but is, let's just call it interchangeable, right? So I am not as concerned. Like, if the Cardinals were going to struggle against the pass with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, they're going to do that with or without Antonio Hamilton. I'll just be frank. Like, Cardinals do not have a number 1 corner to be able to cover those guys. Budda Baker will be able to supplement some of that. We've seen Budda Baker have immense success against the Seattle Seahawks in the past. So again, we can be out a couple corners, but if that gives me number 3 back in the lineup in Budda Baker, like, hell yeah, I'm signing up for that. With all due respect to Antonio Hamilton. And then additionally, like, this needs to be a BJ Ojulari breakout game. Can we get that going? This pass rush, Zaven Collins has been up and down with an illness. Like, presumably he should be good to go, Bo, to your reports, to play. Victor Dimukeje has looked good. He's got 3.5 sacks. BJ Ojulari, like Geno Smith, they love to throw the football. And their tackle play has been suspect. This needs to be a game where we see BJ Ojulari get an increase in snaps, and he needs to play like 30% of the game. They need some juice on the edge. Like, I'm not getting the juice from Zaven Collins that I once thought I would. You know, Dennis Gardeck's been quiet in recent weeks. Outside of Victor Dimukeje, it's been minimal, right? So I think this is a perfect BJ Ojulari breakout game for this defense. But again, like what they're doing with Trey McBride and slowly putting him ahead of Zach Ertz, I need to see that now with this team struggling with BJ Ojulari.
Yeah, and people asking about Garrett Williams as we talked about the secondary. And I mean, we've seen Garrett Williams get more on the defensive side of the football during, you know, the open portion of practice, which is just position drills for the most part. You know, the last couple of weeks, he's kind of been playing that offensive player role just to kind of mimic that. And we've seen him more on the defensive side. But I don't. This would be maybe a decent week to work him in. But that's best case scenario. I mean, you're not going to see if he is activated, and I believe they have 2 roster spots available after they made some room or whatever. I think actually they're at 52 right now, so they've got 1 roster spot available. So most likely it's just to activate Budda Baker. So more likely we'll see Garrett Williams activated before Wednesday of next week, with the idea maybe he could return, make his debut against the Baltimore Ravens. But the names I kind of gave you there, as far as Andre Sachare and Kayvon Wallace, I think that those are your options that they would probably move forward with instead of Garrett Williams making his debut.
Sports Hero, feel like the defense is going to ball out. Emotional boost from Budda Baker being back. Totally agree. I think I would be surprised if this defense didn't have a similar outing in the first half like they had last week, subsequently in their loss. I think that this defense, again, you're putting together with duct tape at certain positions, but Budda Baker is an elite player. Like he is unequivocally their best player. Like Kyler Murray is their most important. Budda Baker at his best in terms of positional value, position ranking, is a top 2 to 3 safety in the NFL when he's healthy. And his presence back there cannot be measured. He gives you an immense boost for this secondary that has been cooked week after week after week, sometimes by marginal quarterbacks. They have been getting right. Quarterbacks have been getting right against this defensive back group. So again, I'm bullish on that. The injury report, again, Elijah Wilkinson, like, let's see what Dennis Daly can do. Elijah Wilkinson, to me, like, if somebody can just go in and be manageable, competent, like, the dude's going to lose his job. He had an abysmal game last week against the LA Rams. I get it was Aaron Donald. Like, he just looked completely inept, out of sync. His effort, I think, could have been better. The Cardinals' offensive line is a plus. And so I don't buy the notion that, oh, you're weakening the starting five. They've been together for 6 weeks. Like, if they're not producing, then you need to make a change. And, you know, you told me off air, Brian Baldinger said earlier on the show this week, basically, that DJ Humphrey's struggles could be a testament to, you know, Wilkinson's play. If that's the case, get him out of there. Because I can't have Wilkinson fudging up two positions on top of his own in left guard and now left tackle. Yelda Frohold's been fantastic. Will Hernandez should get Pro Bowl votes. Paris Johnson Jr. has been a sensation, a revelation at right tackle. The biggest error and hole in this offensive line is left guard. Let's see who else can get out there. And maybe this is the tipping point if Dennis Daly or somebody else can come in and produce for this team.
Yeah, Dennis Daly, Tristan Colon, those are going to be options. Those are guys who've rotated in the last couple of weeks. Real quick, let's take a look at the Seahawks injury report from today. A couple interesting names. Tyler Lockett did not practice. He's been limited all week with a hamstring, and then for actually getting in action in a limited capacity for the first time all week is DK Metcalf, having ribs and hip injuries. He's questionable.
Ooh.
I mean, Lockett's not, he doesn't have a game status, so he's probably good to go. They were just resting him, but you know, that's not, I mean, the DK thing is he going to be with a rib injury and a hip injury? Is he going to be, you know, at full strength? The answer is no, but you know, is a 60-70% DK Metcalf, you know, against this defense is still a major danger to, and threat to the Arizona Cardinals and what they want to try to do and how they slow things down. But and we'll get more into kind of breaking this game down and where they're going to have to slow some key playmakers down for Seattle, including number 9 in the backfield. But if you can slow DK down in any capacity, it's a good thing for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, like, I think we need to talk about, like, Geno Smith has not been great this year. I think he's been okay. He's been solid. Like, they played one less
care
game.
of the football for the most part. I think just 3 picks.
Yeah, but again, 5 touchdowns in 5 games is pretty average, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with 2 great receivers,
Kids would call that mid. It's pretty mid.
Pretty mid. I mean, I know Dobbs has played 1 more game, but their numbers are very similar, right? The difference is Seattle's defense has been pretty solid. They lost to the Rams in week 1, 30-13, but then they beat a very good Detroit team. They outlasted Carolina. They whooped up on the Giants, and then they lost to Cincinnati. Like, this is a winnable game for the Arizona Cardinals. I know a lot of the fans think, you know, the season's over. It's difficult. I can't watch any more Joshua Dobbs. If you get the Joshua Dobbs from 2.5-3 weeks ago, he can win you this game. Yeah. Now, is there too much tape on Joshua Dobbs now? Can a savvy defensive head coach and Pete Carroll, you know, make Josh Dobbs look like he did last week against the LA Rams? Potential. And then also, I think Kenneth Walker poses a huge problem for this team that cannot stop the run right now. We saw when the LA Rams decided they were done screwing around to start the second half, they put the Cardinals over the barrel. I mean, it was unwatchable the 3rd and 4th quarter for this team and their run defense. So again, like, maybe they get a boost from Budda Baker. He can help in run support, and maybe another week for Jonathan Ledbetter and Stills, and these guys get more comfortable. But until the Cardinals can stop the run consistently, it's going to be tough sledding, Kyler Murray or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Joshua Dobbs didn't just forget how to play football. He didn't just figure it out and get it going against, you know, one of the league's top defenses in Dallas and able to put together one of his best performances and, you know, have a solid defense against an elite defense, have a solid game against an elite defense in San Francisco. I mean, he's missing throws. If he can just make the throws that are there for him, if he makes the right read to Rondell Moore, it's different. If he drops the ball in the bucket to Hollywood Brown, which we've seen before, you know, I think that if he can just settle down and keep the poise and the composure that you need from a starting caliber quarterback, you know, he's going to be able to make the play. It's going to be a hostile environment. You know, there's some ball hawking corners over there you got to look out for. They got, you know, according to Jonathan Gannon, multiple war daddies on that defense. The road doesn't get any easier, but it's up to Joshua Dobbs to just kind of turn back the clock and play how he did those previous 2 weeks. He's capable of doing it. Like, he's not a lost cause. He's just got to do it. He's just got to make those reads and make those throws.
Dylan Richards, friend of the program at $1.99 super chat. When do we hear from Kyler Murray K1 and why has it been so long? I think probably because they want him to focus on getting healthy, getting right on the practice field, and maybe they don't make him available, Bo, fair or not, until the week he's quarterback one and is going to start subsequently on that Sunday.
Yeah, I would bet we potentially hear from a Kyler Murray next week. I would bet, and that's not any like, hey, he's going to be activated next week. But I think they just wanted to get him some practices under his belt and then, have something to talk about, like how he's feeling and how things are going, to where now it's just like, hey, how was your rehab and stuff like that. I think that they wanted to kind of get some things that he can actually discuss and not have to speculate himself about, how are things going to go. Like, he can actually tell you, like, well, I'm a weekend and this is how things are going. So we could, but at the same time, during a game week, it's still, they could just keep him hidden until they absolutely have to. So he came out in training camp and spoke. I think he's more willing to do that. In a weird way, he probably misses us.
We'll see. You have a fun story to tell later in the podcast about, certain quarterback at Cardinal practice today. Diamondbacks, Phillies in the first inning right now. Diamondbacks minus 105 right now. The money line with our friends at BetMGM. If you're thinking about dabbling on Cardinal football, postseason baseball, make sure you're doing it with our friends at BetMGM. Bet 10, get $200 for free. Sign up with the promo code PHNX. Again, place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the mobile device, the application BetMGM Sportsbook, of at least $10. It could be more than 10 if you're feeling frisky, but just $10. You're going to receive $200 in additional winnings, regardless of the outcome of your wager. It's 4 easy steps. Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on Android or iOS devices, or better yet, visit BetMGM.com. Sign up with the bonus code PHNX. Again, I like the Diamondbacks tonight. If I'm a first-time user, BetMGM, I get that $10 bet. I put it on whatever I want. I get the winnings, plus I get $200 in additional bonus bets, regardless of the income or the outcome of the game. Sign up with BetMGM. Again, bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details. Now listen to our guy Shane Diefenbach talk about it in the disclaimer.
Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
I was pretty fired up after the Diamondbacks walk-off win yesterday in the 9th inning. Ketel Marte with the game-winning single. So much so that I was like, let's get tickets to Saturday's game. That actually locked in a Game 5 at the very least for the D-backs. And my wife and I jumped on the interwebs, and we made a mistake. We went to just dbacks.com first to look for our tickets, and that was a huge mistake. And I was discouraged. It's like, these numbers, it's way too expensive. Then I jumped on the Game Time app, and the Game Time app was to the rescue. And I saved myself some money as well by using this promo code PHNX, got $20 off, already some banging seats for not a banging price. Loved what I found on Game Time app, so much so that we are going, me, my wife, and my 2-year-old son, to the ball game tomorrow night. Hopefully the Diamondbacks win this bullpen game tonight, and they can take a 3-2 lead tomorrow. If they do so, I'll be in attendance. Join me by using the Game Time app. Sign up today. Create an account. Use that code PHNX and get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account. Redeem the code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Those last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Told you I picked up some Laker Suns tickets on the Game Time app. I was scouring the websites, the ticketing websites, just to compare. Nobody compares to our friends at Game Time. Nothing also compares to Prediction Time here on PHNX Cardinals podcast. But before we get to that, let's talk about, Bo Brock, some key matchups ahead of the Seattle Seahawks Arizona Cardinal matchup this weekend. I know what I'm looking at. It's the guy that was cooking Ram DBs last week. Can he do it again? Plus his better quarterback play. How about our guy, Hollywood Brown? Can he take it to the, let's just call it the Rick Woolen, RIP Woolen this weekend? If Hollywood Brown can go off for a deep ball, Woolen himself for the Seattle Seahawks, 92 yards, 2 tutties, and only 2 passes defense. Seattle's got decent corners. Frankly, he is not one of them. Tariq Woolen, after a banner year last year, I'm going to tell you right now, I think Hollywood Brown scores a touchdown against Tariq Woolen. I think that some of his cachet has been lost from his rookie season. I think Hollywood Brown cooks him for a touchdown with Joshua Dobbs pulling the trigger.
I hope so. I mean, Tariq Woolen, he bottled up Hollywood Brown in that matchup in Seattle last year. So I think that's why this matchup is so key. When you look at Hollywood Brown, 29 catches, 334 yards, and 3 tutties. I mean, those numbers could be a lot better if he has better quarterback play and more accurate footballs. Like, at least you can add one more touchdown to that list, to that stat line. And then you're right. It's not that important, that impressive. Like, Woolen's given up to 2 touchdowns. I think this has to be a bounce back game if the Arizona Cardinals want to have, like, the Seattle Seahawks are pretty stout in the run defense. So you're going to have to get after these corners and throw the football. And the wide receiver that's been the most consistent for this Cardinals receiving core has been Hollywood Brown. He's got to get it going and not have obviously it ended in injury last year. You obviously don't want that to happen, but before that, he was also bottled up by the defensive secondary. And you like to look him kind of win this battle come Sunday.
Donald, appreciate you, my guy. Love this podcast. Love to be back on this podcast previewing Seattle hosting at the Arizona Cardinals. And then we touched on it, how the Arizona Cardinals are going to stop Kenneth Walker III, Bo Brock. It's got to be starting with Kazir White, linebacker for the Arizona Cardinals, having a banner season. One could argue he's been a Pro Bowl level linebacker, 55 total tackles, 2 sacks coming over from Philadelphia now. The captain, the play caller for the Cardinals defense. Kenneth Walker's the real deal, Holyfield. I mean, he can burn you. He carved up the Cardinals last year, albeit a Vance Joseph defense. Cardinals are having a tough time stopping the run when other teams commit to the run. Dallas got away from it. They prospered. But, man, what Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, and subsequently last week, that 5th rounder from the Rams did in the second half, the Cardinals need the very best from Kazir White to be able to slow down Seattle's offense, which I think Bo Brock is predicated on running the football.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be a broken record and put a defensive lineman up here. Obviously, it starts up front, but if they're going to have any chance, number 7 is going to have the one that's going to be meeting at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage with the running backs, because you're not getting the play from your defensive front that you would like. And as you pointed out, I mean, the games that they've been in, they've been competitive in, they've been able to slow down the run. But when things get away from them, that's when that run defense kind of really comes apart, right? And Kazir White is somebody that can make some big plays in here, maybe potentially make the Seattle defense one-dimensional if they can take number 9 out of this. When I was looking at the gaudy numbers from the Seattle offense, I made sure to ask Jonathan Gannon, like, when you look at this team and how kind of potent they are and how balanced they are and how they can get it going in the pass game and the rush game, and they take care of the football, like, how do you potentially slow that? Where do you start? And he says it starts with number 9. So you slow down Kenneth Walker III. I think that gives you an opportunity come Sunday to compete and stay competitive in this game and potentially steal one.
Cardinals are 0-2 in the division under Jonathan Gannon. Let's get that man back closer to 500 with a dub this weekend. It's prediction time. I'm happy to go first.
You want to check the gut meter first?
No, I want to save the gut meter.
Oh, okay.
I want to save it for the end of the show. How dare you, Bo Brock? This is prediction time. The gut meter can wait. The gut meter, listen, my gut's rumbling to tell everybody who I like this weekend that are going to step up for the Cardinals. And what I think right now, PHNX Cardinals faithful, is going to be a Cardinal win. I think the morale is boosted for this team with Kyler Murray and Budda Baker back in the fold. I know Kyler's just practicing. Let's start on offense. Trey McBride, ever heard of him? He was great last week, and I think he's going to be even better this week. Seattle can be susceptible to opposing tight ends. I think Trey McBride now, tight end 1 over Zach Ertz, gets multiple targets in the red zone. Trey McBride scored a touchdown this weekend, folks. Anytime touchdown for Trey McBride, he's going to steal Zach Ertz targets in the red zone. A big part of the Cardinals getting to 24 points. How about on the defensive side? I don't know how you cannot choose Budda Baker this week. He's going to be the catalyst for what I think is going to be their best defensive showing since the Dallas game. Seattle, his home state of Washington, going to go out and ball out. Love to see it. Number 3, you have a different vibe about this team when he's suiting up, the captain. And then I mentioned it, DJ Humphries. Like, come on, bro, get your shit together. Like, Seattle's pass rushers, they're fine. They're pretty solid. You've got cooked each of the last 3 weeks. Like, help your quarterback. Joshua Dobbs cannot be an accurate passer with you having defensive ends laying all over him. He needs a clean pocket like he had for much of the season to start with. You're right now in a position, DJ Humphries, where the fan base is ready to turn on you, turn that back around on them and say, I am the player worth $13-14 million. I am worthy of being a captain. I am worthy of being a stalwart. Stop getting outproduced by, rookies and journeymen. Like, come out there and be a stalwart for this team up front on the offensive line. If DJ Humphries plays well offensively, Cardinals are going to score points. If he struggles, Joshua Dobbs is going to subsequently struggle. I'm going to give DJ the benefit of the doubt. That doesn't happen. Cardinals win this game on a last-second Matt Prater field goal in the wind, in the rain, to beat the Seattle Seahawks 24-21. Cardinals move to 2-5.
Hit that like button for that prediction. I mean, just will it into existence. I love it. Optimism. Let's let it just kind of let's let it marinate here. Let's just kind of live in it right now. Because
why are you teasing this up? What do you got to say to this audience, Bo?
Right, because I want the likes now, because I don't think they're going to like when I look at my predictions, because I just don't see a defense that is prepared to slow down this offense from the Seattle Seahawks. I just don't, even with Budda Baker coming back. But if they're going to have a shot, I do have the Cardinals losing this one 31-20 to the Seahawks. But if they're going to step up, they are going to have a guy like Michael Wilson have a big game. We got to going up against a couple of their corners out there. If Hollywood Brown has a repeat performance, you're going to have the third rounder, 96th overall selection at Stanford, show up for the first time in 2 weeks. Love to see 14 out there making big plays again for the Arizona Cardinals. Then on the defensive side of the football, who's been wreaking the most havoc, getting the most pressures? It's that guy out of Duke, Victor Dumakaji. And when you look at you talked about maybe a vulnerable offensive line, it's at the right tackle spot, and that's usually where Dumakaji is kind of lined up or coming off the edge against. I think that's where he can maybe get after Geno Smith. So Dumakaji can maybe add to his sack total this season. And then you're saying, for your X factor, you've got Cardinals RB1 and Keontae Ingram, but I don't expect him to make this like huge impact. But if he's a guy that get like 3 to 4 yards per carry and really set yourself up in second and third and manageable, I think that can be an X factor for the Arizona Cardinals and what they want to do offensively, maybe even bust off, an explosive run as far as, maybe 1 or 2 runs close to 10 yards or more. That'd be huge for this Arizona Cardinals offense and go a long way in helping out Joshua Dobbs. But unfortunately, I just think that, the Seahawks, outside of the game last week, this offense has put up big points, and the Arizona Cardinals have faced worse offenses and performed poorly. This is a big boy offense in the NFL, and despite pedestrian numbers from Geno Smith, I think that him and with Kenneth Walker III and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett could be a nightmarish day, and maybe another 30-burger on the Cardinals defense.
I was enjoying my return to the show after a 2-day absence, and now I want to punch you right in the mouth for that prediction. Love these sports heroes. Sensible Johnny is here. I am sensible. Take the Cardinals money line with BetMGM and use your bonus bucks or not, because it's going to hit. Negative Bo with 20-31 according to Fishbowl Flash. I don't like that negativity, but I will turn it to Bo because the gut meter is back. Now, Bo Brock crafted this gut meter by hand. So let's see what Bo Brock thinks the gut meter is.
Chiseled it.
Yeah, with a Cardinal loss at 31-20. Good hell. What do you got for me?
Get a little bit of a bump. It was about maybe halfway up last week against the Rams, a 2-3 team that they lose 26-9 against. And I think JG with getting a little boost from Budda Baker returning the field on Sunday and Kyler Murray returning the practice field, we get a little extra juice, and we're going to effing gut these guys meter. The gut meter says about 75%. And a little bit happier JG, but hopefully a better performance will do that. Not maxed all the way out. I think that the next time this thing's maxed out is after a dub or when Kyler Murray returns.
Who got you for that prediction? How dare you? If the Cardinals win this game, we're going to put Budda Baker's head on that for the post-game show along with JG, because something tells me number 3 is going to have a big part in how this game goes down this weekend. And speaking of this weekend, listen, I know there's a lot of college football on. There's a lot of NFL. Could be, stimulation overload. I'm walking through my neighborhood. There's ghouls and goblins everywhere. I just need to chill out, mellow out. I do it with my friends at OG's Flavoring Life Streams. Hello, I'm looking to have a dream with some of their, tremendous gummies. 420 times easier with the fruits and creams mixed bag. Hello, Bo Brock. They've got Hall of Fame flavors in one place, like blackberries, cream, orange creamsicle, peaches and cream, red apple, watermelon, and peach. Again, they're fantastic. Our favorite cannabis kitchen. Check them out at OG's Brands for yourself. Try one or multiple. Be safe. Be responsible. Too many delicious flavors. Check them out across their socials at OG's Brands and online at ogbrands.com to find them at a local dispensary near you. Got to be 21 years and older to purchase.
You're a ghoul goblin sometimes when you don't wear your Shady Rays. Your eyes get all bloodshot, and we don't want that, right? You don't want you to look like a ghoul, and we also don't want you to look like a goblin coming out with that dungeon tan. Go out there and get some sun and do it safely with our friends over at Shady Rays. We love Shady Rays. Hey, become a Shady Rays owner today, and don't just purchase one pair. Purchase 2 pairs of Shady Rays, and you can cash in on the biggest deal of the season, 50% off 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays sunglasses, either online or you can go check them out for yourself up in North Scottsdale at Kierland Commons. They've got a store there, and you can use that promo code. Just shout it from the rooftops, PHNX. You'll get 50% off with no hesitation. Also, no hesitation on their insane protection plan on all their eyewear. If you lose or you break your sunglasses, they're going to replace them. Find out why 250,000 people are rating these 5 stars. Shady Rays is a premium product, but not at a premium price. PHNX, 50% off, shadyrays.com, and up in North Scottsdale and Kierland Commons at their store, Shady Rays, shadyrays.com. Love them.
Didi in the chat, if we win this game, I'm going to buy 2 PHNX t-shirts. Didi, I'd like to shake your hand. That's a tremendous comment. Why wait, though? Why wait? Let's go on the gophnx.com right now. Get a t-shirt for free. How about the Bird Game t-shirt or the hat that Bo Brock's got right now? The traditional baseball hat, black, chef's kiss. Become a diehard right now at gophnx.com. Get a free hat and or shirt every single year you're signed up. It basically pays for itself. You get 20% off all future PHNX events, exclusive access to the exclusive member Discord. You can yell at Bo Brock and I, get takes, get sites from practice you can't get anywhere else. But again, you got to become a diehard at GoPHNX. Plus, the 90% that's free on the website, you get that sweet 10% that's behind. I don't like to use the word paywall, but it's behind an area where you have to become a diehard. It's exclusive for you. Go become a diehard. Check out the many workings of my talented peers, including Gerald Bourguet, Jesse Freeman, who's cranking out the content on the reg as the Diamondbacks are poised, hopefully, to advance from the NLCS. And, of course, our PHNX Cardinals beat reporter, Howard Balzer. All that and more at gophnx.com. Become a diehard today, Bo Brock.
Let's talk about exclusive content from practice.
Okay.
Hit
me with it. Here we go.
Last couple weeks, we've had a couple incidents between your boy and the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon, where I may or may not have said, "Hey, let's gut these guys," and I didn't get the response. I think I wanted to kind of fall off the face of the earth, right?
Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah, it was bad. Right? It was very cringeworthy. So I've had some cringeworthy moments between me and JG. Now, maybe did I have a cringeworthy moment, make a fool of myself in front of a franchise quarterback? We'll tread lightly because I don't know how much of this, it was during maybe the closed portion. But I went to the locker room, got some sound, got some video from Arizona Cardinals players. I just gotten some video that you saw early in this program from quarterbacks coach Israel Wolfwork. And I came out of the locker room and I'm listening to my phone because I want to get you good people all the action, all the sights and sounds on our Twitter account at PHNX_Cardinals. So I'm listening to it. And there was a player, we'll just call him player 1, right? And he's out there working out, putting in some extra work, right? And working with a resistance band and dropping back and turns around and catches eyes with me about 15 yards away. And he's got a football in his hands. And I've got in my dominant hand here my phone. And player 1 throws me at about 55%, arm strength. A dot that's coming. The ball's on me quick, Johnny. And I go with my left hand to try to D-hop this ball or OBJ this one and just make a spectacular catch.
You didn't try to body catch it?
I did try to body catch it because it just hits right off my chest, and then and it just hits to the ground, and I scramble to the ground like a dorky looking journalist, unathletic, uncoordinated, pick up the football, try to throw a perfect spiral, back towards the coaches and the players that were in the vicinity, and I airmailed the throw and make a complete fool of myself. Didn't drop the phone. I should have just dropped the phone.
Is this the last day for this podcast now as a result?
There was a whole lot of shame, but I'll say player one jokingly said, "I'm locked in." Said, "I'm locked in." He was ready to put a ball on a dime, even to an unathletic, uncoordinated reporter coming out of the locker room.
Listen, I'm going to back you up. And you don't usually give me this kind of support, but I'll be straight with our audience. Bo has good hands. Former high school baseball player has good natural hands. So I'm going to tell you right now, everybody in the chat, your biggest mistake was to not drop the phone. Everybody now instincts take over, and you're trying to protect the phone. I get that. Just like I once tried to protect a T-shirt while chugging a drink on the show. Everybody is saying you drop the phone at that point and you square up. And you do this, right? You make the spade right here for Kyler Murray, but the reaction time, I would imagine.
I didn't say it was Kyler Murray.
Or I'm sorry, quarterback one. Excuse me, I misspoke. I just assuming. I don't know this story.
Now you did see my hands on display during training camp. There was an errant Jeff Driscoll pass that skipped on the grass that I did. I high pointed off the grass and. It was a solid play. Did you play college baseball? JUCO. You said high school. I've got my phone up here to my ear like here, and I'm walking on a sidewalk. So if I drop this, and I'm really kind of tempting fate here. I don't have any case on this thing.
Okay, so it was on grass.
No.
Okay.
The player was on grass. I was walking on a sidewalk. If I drop it, I think the players are like, "Bro, you dropped your phone for that?"
So, talk to me about the throw. It wasn't back to the.
Like I said, it was on me, man. It was on me. It was a dot.
No. Your throw back to.
That was fine.
But did you throw back to the quarterback?
No. Well, I don't want to throw it to the quarterback, him jam a finger, and
so it wasn't like reciprocated. Like, we're gonna have a quick catch here. He had moved on from you after you had dropped the pass.
Yeah, he was, like you said, he was locked in. He turned his back. He was on to the drill, and the onlookers, like the coaches and the players that were also like, they couldn't believe he threw it to me, and they were like kind of shocked that he made me look like the biggest ass in the world.
A jerk would sit here and besmirch you and say, "How could you do this?" I have 100% confidence I would have also dropped that pass. Now, that probably doesn't surprise a lot of people, but I also would have struggled to complete it back to the coaches and players. So I'm going to say I credit you for trying, and thank you for being humble on this podcast like you always are. And I hope that you get an opportunity to redeem yourself at practice.
That's all I want now.
Yeah.
I'm going to be awake in my bed tonight. It's probably going to be 3 a.m. and I'm going to be thinking about, man, if I could have just hauled that catch in. Like, if I could have just like OBJ'd that, right? Just caught it clean and then spun it and then just walked off into the distance. I'm sure Monty Austinfort would have tried to flag me down. Like, hey, where are you going? Where are you going with hands like that? I'm going to work. I'm locked in.
You're like that meme. The guy sitting in his bed, his wife's like, he's probably thinking about another woman, and you're thinking about, we got to get you and your wife to recreate that. It's just a bubble of dropping passes at cards practice. Thank you for sharing that story. And this is a podcast about honesty and
so much pride, but so much shame at the same time.
Listen, we all have things to get better at, and Bo has to get better at not embarrassing the show while he's at the Tempe facility in more ways.
Can you imagine the player in the locker room like, hey, I tried to throw a pass to a reporter. Shocker, he didn't catch it. Fumbled it around like a big idiot. They're just laughing behind the scenes.
You know what you should do? You should ask Greg Dortch if the franchise quarterback had spoken about it privately, and get Greg Dortch's take, and maybe on the show, the next Greg Dortch pod, you guys can work live on the show about you catching a ball with one hand, and Greg can give you tips on how to catch a football.
Just get my phone up like this, and then he'll just fire off, just hit me with spirals right in the chest.
Man, this is the content you can't get anywhere else. Nowhere else are you going to get a vulnerable co-host of a podcast coming on here and saying that
I'm sharing my life with all of you. The good, the bad.
We're getting up there on you embarrassing yourself with Cardinal players and coaches on this show. And listen, I hope we get to a point where you're able to redeem yourself. You don't have to do anything for me. You're an A+ in my book. You're going to catch 100 out of 100 balls that I throw your way. You guys are fantastic here. It's been a banner week. I'm happy to be back. Thank you for the warm wishes. And I'm excited to see everybody at BetMGM this weekend, Bo.
Yeah, absolutely. Britton Golden's going to be back out there. You're going to be out there, the Wing King in full form, enjoying some delicious wings from the BetMGM Sportsbook out in Glendale. Join us. We got some great giveaways. I think we're going to have some tickets to the upcoming Arizona Cardinals home game, which would be Week 8 against the Baltimore Ravens. Could be the debut of a certain player. I don't know. I mean, we can't say that for sure, but if you get tickets,
if you're not buying the next 2 home tickets for this team, what are you doing? Like those are the 2 outside of Suns, Lakers, and Diamondbacks postseason. Like, man, it's a banner time to be a sports fan here in Arizona, Bo.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a great time. Kyler back to practice. Buddha potentially back in the lineup. Kyler's return looming. D-backs in the playoffs. Suns about to tip their season. Coyotes are just crushing the St. Louis Blues 6-2, coming home for their home opener tomorrow. You got a new coach for the Merc. You got, everybody's trending in the right direction. Who knows? Maybe the Sun Devils will shock the world tomorrow against Washington. I don't know. But if it happens, PHNX Sports is going to PHNX Sports is your spot. So make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. You're set up for alerts and notifications, but also you're following along at PHNX_Cardinals. Let's get to 10K followers to that damn thing already. Let's do that as well. Great content on a daily basis.
A bunch of extra accounts. Go to Elon and just make about 5 to 10 accounts tonight if you guys could spare some time in your Friday night. In the meantime, 200 likes on this video because Kyler Murray's awesome. In practice, you guys are awesome for the support of this podcast. We're on track to have an even bigger month than the month of September here. Just 10 days out, 12 days out from Halloween. We're excited. Again, BetMGM this weekend, pregame, halftime, postgame from your definitive Arizona Cardinal podcast. Myself, Bo Brock, Britton Golden. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. We're getting reviews on the podcast. We appreciate it. In the meantime, for Bo Brock, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you at the game.
We all silly like the mayor.